Shwmai bawb. Hello everyone, Jason Shepherd here from the Learn Welsh podcast. And have I got an interesting article for you today? Have I? Yes, I have. Hey. It's called The Dialect of Wales, How One Country Has 5 Different Words for the Same Thing. Now, I will be reading and my iPad is, here it is. If I'm looking down, that's why. It says, you can be speaking to a relative or a friend in a neighbouring county and they might use a totally different word to the one you would use. And here's the thing, when we think of different dialects, especially when we teach the language, we teach it as a North Wales course and a South Wales course. For example, North Wales, milk is llyfrith, and down here, it's llaeth. But they're saying in this article that there are also, within that, 5 distinct areas within Wales where there are different words, where you say one word in one part of Wales, but across the county border, a different word. So let's have a quick look. It says, not everybody speaks the same Welsh. There are many different forms, styles and words people use throughout the country. You can be speaking to a relative or a friend in a neighbouring county and they might use a totally different word to the one you would use. For example, hoggin in the north means boy, but it's bachgen in the south. Yeah, I say bachgen. Hogan is girl up north, merch down south. Again, I would say merch, but I know both obviously because I teach both flavours of the language. It says, why is there such a difference? And they go into a brief history of the language then, how we've had these different areas of the language. So Primitive Welsh, 550 AD, Old Welsh was 700 to 1100 AD. Then we had Middle Welsh in the 15th century, up to the 15th century, and then Modern Welsh became the norm. And it says here that the Bible, the Welsh Bible, helped to create what is known as a proper Welsh, because it was written down. For the first time properly, we had all of these words written down and sort of standardised. James Fife, who wrote The Semantics of the Welsh Verb, says, it is fairly entrenched in Welsh spoken minds. The main division is the Gog, North Walian, and the Hunto. Then he goes on to say, it's traditional to make a major dialect break between the Welsh of North Wales and the South, at an axis running roughly from the mouth of the Dyfi River eastwards towards Shrewsbury. But it doesn't seem to be that simple. There are clearly divides in spoken Welsh within the North and South Wales. So we can split up the dialects into a more complicated and fractured picture. Apparently they give an example that Welsh is not unique in this sense because the same thing happens in England. And geography often plays a part. For example, I lived in a little village called a little town called Casainan in Swansea. And not far we had a bridge between the sort of Casainan Lachar area and the sort of Llanelli area. Now, for many years, hundreds of years, there really wasn't a bridge there. So the two areas, the Welsh and the accent and the language developed a little differently. So if you go across the bridge, the accent is completely different to the accent on our side of the bridge. I mean, so different. And yet, technically, we're just across the water from each other. It's like 2 minutes across the road now, across the bridge. So things like that, water being in between mountains, things like that, breaking up the areas was part of the reason why these dialects sort of got created within their own areas and didn't really spread out too much. So they've got these 4 distinct areas here, which is Gwyndodig, North West Wales, Powyseg, Northern Mid Wales and North East Wales, Dyfedig, which is South West Wales, and Gwynhwyseg, South East Wales. They also think that within Dyfedig, which is sort of Llanelli, Carmarthen, those kind of areas, there was another area known as Iaith Sir Benfro, and there's enough significant differences to some of the words there that they're putting it down in this list. So what are the major differences between the 5 areas? So they've got the word here, fox is one of the examples. They say that in North West Wales and North East Wales and North Mid Wales, they would say llwynog for fox, llwynog. But I wouldn't say that. I'm from South Wales and I would say cadno. South West Wales, actually I'd say cadno. But proper Welsh would be an O sound. In West Wales we say O for some reason, cadno. And roughly North Wales says llwynog, South Wales says cadno. But what about this? The word boy or lad has a few different versions. So, first of all, up in North Wales, North West Wales, they would say hoggin. In North East and Northern Mid Wales, they'd say cog. South West Wales and South East Wales, they would say bachgen, but also a shortened colloquial word, crut. And then in Sir Benfro, they would say rochin. So we have 4 different words. We have hoggin, cog, crut, and rochin, all meaning the same thing. So we're looking at another one here. Like handkerchief. Northeast, northwest, they'd say hankes. Same in the east and North Mid Wales. Southwest Wales, they'd say nicloth. Southeast Wales, Neisied, and again, Sir Benfro, nicloth. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways there. Hedge is a good one though, because in hedge, we've got 5 different ways of saying it. First of all, the one I know, which is clouth, which is Southwest Wales, Perth in Southeast Wales, a shortened version of clow in Sir Benfro, gwrych in Northwest, and shetyn in Northeast and North Mid Wales. Gwrych, shetyn, clouth, Perth and clow, all meaning the same thing. But if you lived within those areas, you would know the colloquial word to use. What I want to know is what happens if you're from a different area and you say the wrong word. Probably they'd say in Welsh, what are you saying? And they'd say in English, hedge. Oh, hedge. Right, okay. Let's have a look anymore here. This is interesting. The word for lane is lone. L-O-N with a little upside down V over the O to give that elongated sound. Lone. But everywhere except for Sir Benfro, they would say lone. But in Sir Benfro, they say Vaidr. Interesting. Wonder why just there it's different. Grandmother is pretty much broken up into 2 areas. 9 in North Wales and Mamgi in South Wales. I call my grandmother Mamgi. Some people even shorten that to Gi. And you've got North Wales, Achlan means out, and we say Mas in South Wales. But the Welsh courses, the South Wales Welsh courses often teach Achlan and then tell you about Mas. So a lot of learners would probably say Achlan. It's weird. But what it does say here is that this guy, Dr. Rees, believes dialect areas are now becoming less rigid because of modern patterns, people relocating to different parts of Wales for work or for family reasons. So all these different words are moving around into different parts of Wales. I like that idea. I like that idea that, you know, we're sort of, it's like a multicultural version of the Welsh language. All different parts of Wales are now experiencing other ways of speaking, other words, other dialects. I like that. In the past, you had Welsh speakers that tended to stay in their area for most of their lives. However, what we see now is that we have more Welsh speakers who leave their local area, so their networks are more likely to include speakers from other parts of the country. The main dialect borders between north and south are still strong, but you can still find more local dialects too. A recent pilot study on Pembrokeshire Welsh found that pupils in school are still embracing some of the most well-known dialect features of the area, but other local characteristics are being replaced by features found over a wider region. So there's a little bit more to the article, but I mean, if you want to look it up, it's called The Dialects of Wales, How One Country Has 5 Different Words for the Same Thing. It's on Wales Online. Interesting article if you want to read all of it. But I do like the fact that we've got such an interesting language, because you go to different parts of Wales and you can learn new ways of saying words for the same language. I love that. I really do love that you can learn new things about Welsh language. You could be a fluent Welsh speaker your whole life, and then you can learn more about the language just by going across to another county. Fantastic. Right, well, I hope you've enjoyed that video. I found this article really interesting. I hope you have as well. If you like what we do here, why not give us a big thumbs up? If you'd like to see more of our videos, why not subscribe? And if you'd like to find out as soon as a new video comes out, why not click the little bell? If you'd like to support what we do here, you can go to learnwelshpodcast.co.uk and join the Learn Welsh Podcast Club. You can go to patreon.com/learnwelsh. Join Patreon, and either way, you'll get loads of extra learning materials. You'll get audio versions of our beginners lessons, and you will get all of our lessons and videos early. Well, a big thank you for joining me today. Thank you so much. Diolch yn fawr iawn. I've enjoyed this time with you, and I shall see you soon. Diolch chi. Bye.